Welcome to Filmatic. I am your host.
Whoa! Aren't you forgetting something there, buddy?
Oh yeah. I'm sorry. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.
No,
We really need this, but I'm not begging anybody.
No. Aren't you forgetting something else?
I mean, I did the intro. I did the welcome to film. I didn't swear. That's progress. You have to admit.
Look up. Now look down at your shirt.
I don't
know. Don't notice anything missing there, or
No, what am I missing?
One of these things, perhaps.
Dude, I was out getting I was partying. I was doing a lot of adult activities. I lost it. I don't even know where it is. What happened to?
Where did he go? They taking people off the show now? Oh my God, this is getting ridiculous, man. Now I'm sitting up here with a bars with this look like a messed up commercial on WandaVision. Now I'm just sitting here by myself, just talking to myself. Like what is going on? This is his fault. He hired these people, and now they just power hungry. They're out of control. They're out of control. Put him back on the screen. Put him back on the screen. You're back.
Apparently, yes. They Amazon primed me a tie over as quick as possible. Welcome to Film Addict. I am your host, the Film Doctor.
They have your address.
Apparently,
you're not concerned about that at all.
They say they are watching constantly. Yeah. I don't know what that means, but I kind of keep all of my blinds closed and hover inside of a corner after we film. Welcome to Film Addict. I am your host, the Film Doctor. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Don't hit us with that bell because we don't want anyone to get hurt. But I'm being this nice and kind. Smile. Don't read that. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. I am the Film Doctor.
And the Film Surgeon. Welcome back to the Attic, guys. Today, we have a hot film to dissect. Black Widow, coming to us from Disney Plus. And Disney.
You know what to do.
Don't hit it. We're not begging for a sponsorship. We're not. We're asking.
I always say, you know what to do. I mean,
if you could find it in your heart, Disney, to help get our show out to all of our loving viewers, thank you so much.
I'm not crying. I'm sorry. They just messaged me they said, don't look professional. Yes. Thank you, Disney. And let's jump right into our film review. Black Widow. I watched it a couple of times. It is the first movie as we return back to the new phase of Marvel films. I liked it. You know, it wasn't bad. It wasn't Endgame or Infinity War. It wasn't one of the best Marvel movies that they've put out there, but I did like it. I liked the action. The storyline had some points where it was slow, and I think that for an origin story, I really wanted to know the origin of Black Widow, and this movie took place after Civil War, and so to me, it's a little confusing because if you're going to make an origin movie, that origin movie kind of talks about where Black Widow came from. Now, granted, they did talk about, the Red Room, and they did kind of talk about where she came from. And you did have a beginning scene before she was Black Widow, but the whole thing is how she became Black Widow. I thought that was going to be the main focus of this whole movie, and it wasn't. Taskmaster was phenomenal. I love Taskmaster as a villain. I was terrified, watching that person fight, and those first few fight scenes were great to me. The last fight scene, not so much. It was like 30 seconds long, and then boom, it's over. It wasn't as sweet as the other fight scenes when you see Taskmaster, where I was terrified. This movie definitely should have come out way back when and not way after, in my opinion. Could it matter? Could you now start to do origin movies of people that haven't gotten their Hawkeye, their own movie Hawkeye, and I can't even think of any of the other ones. I mean, a new remastered version of Hulk, Incredible Hulk, that's not with the other Hulks that aren't the current Hulk. I mean, could you do those and it still makes sense? You could, I think, if it's a genuine kind of origin story. I don't know. It was fine. The girl, the sister or whatever, she was cool. Sometimes she was cheesy, and it just seemed like she was trying too hard with her accent. That's really all I can say about it. I mean, I feel like for the first Marvel movie, I should have a lot more to say, and I don't, because it was good. It wasn't great. It wasn't bad. It was just good. Rating for it? B. If anything, a B plus, but I'm gonna stick with a B.
Yeah, so I have a myriad of things to say about this movie. I also watched it a couple times. One, the placement of this movie just in the cinematic universe makes absolutely no sense. I get that they kind of shafted Scarlett Johansson and now she's finally getting her own movie, but it just doesn't make sense, and it confuses the audience when you go all the way back to Civil War, and we've seen so much since then. This movie should have come out after Civil War to make it all make sense. The second thing that I will say is, and we'll review Loki later, but Marvel is starting to do this thing where the main person of the story is like a side character. And it's really starting to bother me. Like, we got a lot of time with her on screen, but there were moments where I felt like Scarlett Johansson was a side character in her own film. And that is a problem, like in any film, not just Marvel. And I think we need to start holding Marvel to a higher standard. In any film, the protagonist of the film, whoever the film is about, needs to be the center of attention. They should never be a side character in their own movie. So that was another problem that I had with it. I'm not gonna trash this movie and say it was terrible or bad like some people out there are doing. It wasn't awful. It wasn't great, but it wasn't awful. Let's talk about Taskmaster. If you're going to, so I know a little bit about Taskmaster from the comics. Tony Masters is the original Taskmaster in the comics. He's kind of a sarcastic, he has a personality, he's a sarcastic, arrogant, cocky kind of guy. We took that character, neutered it literally, so we have a gender swap, which isn't a problem. But that character has zero personality. It's a robot now that's just fighting. So they took Taskmaster and basically just dumbed it all. There was no purpose. And then the fight scenes were really good, but I feel like they just set it up so we have to have this twist and this reveal in this movie. So now it's his daughter. It's like, they could have done a way better job with that character and given it life. And even the actress who played Taskmaster, I feel like she's a pretty good actress. They could have given her something to do with that role instead of stand in the suit, be robotic, do nothing. Because she had a stunt double. She didn't even do her own action scenes. So that villain was a flop for me. I feel like this movie could have been more about Black Widow, an actual origin story. I feel like this movie should have been about what they actually did in Budapest, because that's how you say it. It's not Budapest, it's Budapest. As they tell you several times in the film. That it could have been about her and Hawkeye doing what they did to try to get rid of Dreykov, and that could have been the movie, because then it would have actually been about her and her origin story, not about setting up Elena as the next Black Widow. Like I feel like that was what this whole thing was about, is just setting up the next Black Widow. So I'll say this. I thought Elena was pretty good. I enjoyed her character. Alexei, could they have done Red Guardian better? Sure, but for what he had, I feel like he did a pretty good job. Is there any Oscar-winning performances here? No, but overall, I thought that was pretty good. The cinematography and the CGI was okay. The music was okay. There was nothing that really stood out to me. So giving it a grade and kind of putting a bow on it, I'm gonna have to go B-. Wasn't great, wasn't bad, wasn't terrible. It's not as bad as other people are saying. It's it's watchable, it's enjoyable, it's something to enjoy and kind of get you back in the swing, I guess, of what Marvel's doing. But if they're gonna be just doing stuff like this with characters with no personality, then they can just keep it.
Characters that weren't undeveloped, just new people that are coming in. The only person you really know is Black Widow. Right. And for you, what you said about the focus not being on her, like that did happen at times where it's just like other people. To me, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing that I'm like turned off about it, like oh my god, I don't know why they did this. But and granted, and I'm not making excuses, I know that she was pregnant for a majority of this movie, so I don't know if that played a role inside of them changing things or having her on screen less or fighting less or whatever. But you've had plenty of time to do this. You did this after the fact. You could have waited. You had an additional 2 years, with COVID and everything, to do whatever you want and fix stuff after she was done giving birth to her child. But like I said, I mean, I don't want to say average. It just wasn't the typical great Marvel movie that I like. And I think that this should have been on operating table, because you gave it away about the gender swap with Taskmaster. For those that have not seen the movie, may not know, but I don't know anything about Taskmaster. So to me, I don't know if that's always been a character, or that's just they just made up this whole thing with that person being Taskmaster. But then Taskmaster just came out of nowhere as well, just randomly. They're just showing up and fighting. So there's a lot of different things. It's almost like this wasn't an origin story, it was a middle story, because you started off at the middle of everything. And even at the beginning, seeing the two characters, you didn't even know who they were. They didn't really say their name until further in, where it's like, oh, Natasha, her name's Natasha, and it's just like this chick that has blue and blonde hair or whatever. Like I thought it was a boy at first. Like there was just things that just didn't add up, weren't explained, with characters that just came out of nowhere.
I mean, Taskmaster is a very established, and this is, I feel like this is where Marvel is going to start to diverge. People who know about the comics are going to have a much harder time watching these films versus people who are just in it for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, because they don't know these characters or have a previous background knowledge that is influencing their opinion. Taskmaster is a very established character in the comics. He is, like I said, he has a personality, and his powers aren't from being a robot. He has an insane memory that allows his muscles to mimic what other people do. Even having her have that power, and giving her a little bit of character in this film would have helped. Like, if you're the gender swap isn't the problem. They're gonna do this no matter what. They're gonna keep doing it. That's not the issue. Give the character some substance. Not being robotic and saying 2 lines. If it was any other film and you had a character like that, you'd be like, what the heck is going on here?
And again, I'm not making excuses, but it could deal with the whole control. It's just because that they went with this whole mind control aspect as to why that person was like that, and if they didn't go with mind control, that maybe it would be different. But it's because of the direction that they went with that. I mean, I like I said, I don't know anything about it for me to be mad, but I mean, to see those first opening scenes and those fight scenes, I mean, legitimate, I was terrified. I was like, no one can beat this person. And Black Widow should have had a heck of a time with that last fight scene. It should have been like one of the best fight scenes there was, coming off of the first two.
You know, and this is why I'm saying there's going to be a divergence, and I feel like it's going to, you know, there will be a little bit of a rift, because honestly, Natasha should not even be fighting Taskmaster, if we're going to be honest about it. If you know anything about Taskmaster's origins, you know, he's beat several Avengers at one time, like including, you know, not to say that Natasha's not a big Avenger, but she doesn't have any powers. We're talking about like Thor, Iron Man, the Hulk at one time. So like, you know, they dialed the Taskmaster powers all the way back for it to be in this movie. Well, so yeah, that's why I think that there will be a rift for the people who have that background of the comics versus the people who are just enjoying the movies for the MCU. They won't care.
Well, that's the thing I was going to point out. I have a lot of female friends, and I met with one of them where she doesn't know anything about the Marvel Universe. So I don't read any of the comics, but I can explain. I know a lot of the characters. I know the direction. I know why they did certain things that they did. Whether I researched, whether I talked to you, whether whatever, I have a high knowledge of it. So I'm explaining why certain things happen, who these people are to a lot of my female friends or younger friends, maybe younger individuals that didn't watch the TV show or read the comics. I'm explaining that to a lot of people. So you're right in the consensus where it's really only going to be people that are dealing with the comic books, but I really don't think that that's something they can be mad at. This is not the Marvel comic books a cinematic universe. This is just the Marvel cinematic universe. It is its own entity, and whether they base that or anything on the comics is up to them. This is the cinematic universe. So yeah, it's a different world. It's a different direction. It's a different storyline.
They have a choice to accept it and watch it or don't. I mean, you know, there's a vocal group out there that don't like the gender swapping, you know, the race changing of the characters from the comics. They don't like the dialing down of characters' powers and different things like that. But, you know, at the end of the day, they're going to do what they want, and they're making a killing at the box office. So either you watch it and enjoy it or you don't.
Now, before we get out of here, I just curious to know if you know off the top of your head, because they held this so long because they wanted to make a lot of money for it. Do you know how much their opening weekend was? Did they make a lot of money? I mean, I know it was
140 million opening weekend, I believe. So
it's not really super great. I mean, looking at like Captain Marvel, that's not great.
No, and that was only domestic. So we don't have the number. I don't have the numbers for the Asian audience when it went to China and stuff like that off the top of my head yet. But I do know that domestic US Black Widow made opening weekend 140 million, and I'm pretty sure this movie cost a lot of 200 million to make. Right now in the box office as of today, it's 158 million.
The movie cost 200 million to make, and it only made 140 million domestically.
Yeah, opening weekend.
Huh. Okay. Well,
and if you know anything about movies, that when you hear 200 million to make, that's not including the marketing, the promotions, all the advertisements, or anything like that. So they could have spent in excess of $300 million on this.
So they should have charged like $100 on Disney Plus for people to watch it.
I mean, nobody's paying $100 for it. You gotta be reasonable with your price.
A lot of people wouldn't pay $30, and I know a lot of people that did to see this movie.
Yeah, it didn't make a ton of movie, but it was number one in the box office. I mean,
money.
Huh?
It didn't make a ton of money.
I made a lot. 158 million ain't nothing to sneeze at. That's for sure. But have they recouped yet? No. But it made some money. It was number one in the box office when it came out. So there's that.
Okay. Well, that's all that we have for you guys today. Please, we're not begging, but if you can, find it in your heart to like, comment, and subscribe. Thumbs up, kids. Hooray. We would appreciate it. We are moving up in our subscription, so we greatly thank you for that. That's
all
really
249 subscribers, Michael. Thank them all.
Yes, I mean, I said all of them. I don't know if they.
Oh no, say the number.
The 249. We're at 249. So we want to thank everybody, and as always, this has been another exciting episode of
Film
Addict.